Welcome to the channel, thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be discussing my experience running and using the Vivobarefoot Primus Trail 2 FG. Okay, so what is the Vivobarefoot Primus Trail 2 FG? It's specifically aimed at trail running. It's got a 2.5mm sole with 4mm lugs, so it's got pretty much enough to get you through any firm ground conditions. So by firm ground, it's marketed at buffed out trails, gravel, grass, anything that's not deep mud or crazy terrain, snow and ice, things like that. It is what I would class as a minimal shoe, so even though the Vivobarefoot would suggest that it is a barefoot shoe, it's got quite a rugged and quite a substantial makeup, but there is a little bit of an expense of ground feel through that. So it's got a very durable outsole. Those 4mm lugs on the base give it a multi-surface ability, so it's aimed for firm ground and it can be used over rocky surfaces, gravel, in the wet and the dry, and it's also got a zonal grip pattern as well, so where it's going to take the most wear, it has the most grip or the most lugs. It's also got patterning on the base to help grip when things get a little bit gnarly, so it's a well designed outsole. It's made from recycled materials, reusing post-consumer plastics and rubber, so it ticks good eco credentials, but I think Vivobarefoot have got it pretty much nailed on this one, so that's a good point for this shoe. And a speed lacing system on the upper as well. The Primus Trail also includes a Bloom insole, which actually is removable as well, which is quite a nice experience running without the insole included. This is made of performance foam, which is biomass, and it comes from algae which damages the oceans. It is also clean for the environment and is harvested, and it's a sustainable alternative to petrochemical EVA insoles. And it's actually really effective. It's really minimal. I mean, it's paper thin. There's pretty much, or it seems like there's nothing to it really, but it does actually make a difference in the actual feel of the shoe itself when worn either with the insole or without. So that is quite a nice touch. Really like that. And also the Vivobarefoot Primus Trail is vegan, so there's no animal products used on this shoe, so if that's something that is important to you, then that's something to bear in mind with this shoe. It's very ecologically sound and also fully vegan. So with the stats out of the way, what is this shoe like? What's it like to run in and what's it like to use every day? Well, I've really enjoyed my time running in this shoe. I've got quite a few miles logged up with it running, but it is also my sling on everyday shoe that I use for walking the dog, or if I'm out, or even if I'm going out drinking in town or meeting friends, going out for meals, things like that, going out with the family. This is an excellent shoe to wear every day. It really comes into its own out on the trails running, but it's also a really easy shoe to live with every day. It's fantastic just to sling on and leave the house without actually really thinking about it. They do some really nice colorways as well. This is the Obsidian, feels really good. The design of it from the outsole to the upper is really cleverly thought out, but there's some really nice key design features on there which make this shoe, I think, stand out from the competition. This is not the most expensive barefoot shoe that I have, but the other two, which are more expensive, are also Vivobarefoot. So it's not a cheap brand to buy from. So does that mean that it's poor value for money? Well, I think it's actually pretty good value for money. This shoe in particular, because like I say, it is my go-to shoe. If I'm leaving the house, whatever the weather's like outside and whatever I'm going to do, I'll just pick these up and put them on. They're easy to get on and off with this speed lacing system, and they just feel really, really nice to walk in. They're great for running in on the trails. They're just a really well thought out and a really well designed shoe. The upper in this, it's got a fabric mesh on the toe section and also on the side, outer side of the shoe, and that is really comfortable. It's really breathable. There's actually a really soft padded fabric on the inside of that, so even though it makes it still breathable, it's nice to wear when it's really cold because it's got that little bit of padding in there, so it's still breathable but also has that comfort. So they can be worn barefoot inside, which, as the name would suggest, would be quite a nice thing to do. I'll get back to that though. There is a slight point on this that I'm not too happy with, and we'll discuss that in a minute. The padding around the ankle and the Achilles is just enough. It's quite minimal, but it is definitely padding, and it does make them very comfortable on a longer distance run or walking in for a long distance, hiking, things like that. It's got a minimal tongue, there's no padding in there at all, but it's a really strong fabric. It's got a little lace tidy bit in there as well, which keeps the laces locked in place and the tongue locked in place as well, which is really good. The outer fabrics around the edge of this and on the inside as well. The inside in particular, even though it's perforated, so it has got holes in there to allow breathability, it is a very substantial piece of fabric, very plasticky kind of fabric. So it does give a bit of structure to the upper arch and that side of the inside of the foot there. The toe here is pretty hard piece of plastic, so that gives a good piece of protection for the toe, and there's a bit of protection around the front as well. And even though that's a harder rubber than is on the rest of the outside of the shoe, it's not rock hard. There's still quite a bit of flexibility and quite a bit of movement on there. And so the longest run I've done in these is 13 miles out on the trails. I had a really fantastic 10k run in these not long after I'd got them. I'll put a link here if you want to check that one out. Yeah, I had a lot of fun in these shoes. They really, really felt fantastic. So that's where these shine. As you would imagine, out on the trails, these are really good, substantial, well protected, well gripping, just feel good shoes to run in. So are there any negatives? Are there anything that would suggest that these are not worth the money at £130? Well, there are a couple of things. The main thing is that these are a heavy shoe. These are really heavyweight shoes to run in. These come in at about 298 grams in this size 42 men's, which is about a size 8 UK. And for a running shoe, that is quite a substantial weight, particularly when you've got no cushioning, anything like that that would give bulk to it and you would think would add weight to it. So these are a heavyweight shoe. I've got a 35-mile ultramarathon coming up in May, and I would love to take these out and put them through the paces for 35 miles over rolling hills, nothing too technical. However, the weight of them is really putting me off. I've got a few other pairs of barefoot shoes, for example this pair of Vibram 5 fingers. These are the V-Run, so these are designed for running as well, and these are less than half the weight of this. These come in at about 143 grams compared to these 298. It's a massive difference, particularly when you're thinking of over distances, well, anything over 10 miles really. That weight that you're going to carry, that extra weight that's going to be like a pendulum on the bottom of your foot, is going to make a massive difference to the stamina and how well you're going to be able to go at speed even if it's not a particularly fast speed. Just being able to go without the legs getting really tired is going to be something to consider when you're thinking about something that's nearly 300 grams and something that's 140 grams. So something to bear in mind, and that is a bit of a negative point for me on this shoe. Another thing to consider, these are what I would class as a minimal shoe. This is definitely what I would class as a barefoot shoe, and also this one from Merrell, the Merrell Vapor Glove 4. And the reason I would class these two as a barefoot shoe and this one as a minimal shoe is that even though it does have flexibility and it does have, you know, that ground perception, and it is not a cushion running shoe, obviously, it's still not that flexible. When you consider some of the other variations of barefoot running shoes, they are absolutely barefoot. They're just giving you the tiniest bit of protection, and maximum ground feel, maximum flexibility in all directions. So not just rolling them up like that, but also, you know, you can pinch these in any direction at any part of the shoe and they just flex. These flex in certain areas, and the design of that is very clever. So the main design is, or the main flex point of this design is here in the toe box. So where the ball of the foot hits the ground, you know, they flex really well to toe off, and they are very clever in that design. However, there is also a flaw in that design, and that is right here in this corner. It is starting to come away here, which means that it creases really low just here. And for that reason, I cannot wear these without socks, because this bit here digs into my pinky toe and it will take the skin off in no time. And then it becomes really uncomfortable to run in these shoes. Wear socks and it seems to protect it just enough to it not be an issue at all and not cause any problems whatsoever. But trying to wear them barefoot with no socks inside the shoe, and can't do it. It's really uncomfortable, and that's a real shame, because that is about the only downside of this design of the shoe. The other thing is there's a little aspects as well, like on the end of the speed lacing system. I'm not sure whether you'll see that, but there's a huge plastic lump with the Vivobarefoot written on it, and it is pointless. It adds to the weight, it swings around. Okay, for durability then it might be a really good thing. Unnecessary weight added for the design features. I will show you some of the design features on the shoe, because it's obvious that when they were designed to be rugged and durable, and this outsole is fantastic. I mean, I've got well over 100 miles running in this, and several times that walking, and the outsole has stood up to that kind of use absolutely fantastically. They are brilliant. Where I run across the ball of my foot, there's very little wear at all. And I think the main thing is with that, I've taken these out on a 10-mile run along the city streets, which I'll pop a link to that one there as well. That was quite an interesting run. Mixed feelings about that one, so if you get a chance, check that video out. So my conclusion, for £130, are these worth it? Yes, definitely. I would have to say, if you're after a barefoot trail running shoe with very good durability, then I would say that these are ideal for what they are designed for, which is firm ground. So it doesn't really matter whether it's wet or dry, going over gravel trails, these just feel fantastic. They feel really good. There's not that huge ground feel through them. They've got that protection on the bottom, so over something like the Merrell Vapor Glove, these are absolutely bare minimal, and going over gravel, your feet afterwards would feel extremely fatigued unless you are a really seasoned barefoot runner, because of the minimal protection in them. For more protection and better grip as well over trail terrain, I would highly recommend these Vivobarefoot Primus Trail 2. Are they perfect? No, they're not perfect, but they're a brilliant everyday shoe as well. So if you want something that's a bit more universal than just a trail shoe, for example, they do a trail version of this Vibram 5 Fingers, but I'd feel a little bit conscious of what's on my feet if I was to go out drinking with my friends in town, or go out for a meal with the family wearing something that looked like that. Whereas these I can sling on any day, any time, pretty much any weather, with my jeans, my shorts, whatever, and just get out the house. They feel fantastic. They are by far, I'll take a little bit of a gamble here, if you think differently drop me a comment, but I think they are by far the best looking barefoot shoes that there are, and for that reason I would highly recommend these. At £130, if you want something to run on the trails, something to walk your dog with, something to go hiking with, something to go out with your friends and family, any kind of task, anything you can throw at them, particularly in this neutral colour, they're ideal, absolutely perfect. So highly recommended. What's your go-to barefoot shoe? Have you got an everyday shoe? I'm absolutely loving my time in these barefoot shoes, and if you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up. If you disagree with anything that I've said or agree, then please drop me a comment down below. Interesting to hear everybody's thoughts and experiences with the barefoot shoes, and I'll be doing more reviews of this nature on the other barefoot shoes I've got, and I'll catch up with you very soon. Take care, and I'll see you soon.